On May 1st, 2015, Reddit user rbradbury1920 made a strange post to the site in which he wrote about his suspicions that somebody was breaking into his apartment and leaving post-it notes in random parts of his home. The entry read, "On the 15th of April, I found a yellow post-it note in a handwriting that wasn't mine on my desk reminding me of some errands I had to do, but told literally nobody about. While odd, I chalked it up to something I did in my sleep, thinking maybe in my half-awake state I scrawled it so it didn't appear to be my handwriting. I threw it out and thought little of it. On the 19th, I found another post-it note on the back of my desk chair in the same handwriting as the previous note, telling me to make sure I saved my documents. I was freaked out, but there were no other signs of a break-in, so I set up a webcam in my house and aimed it at my desk and used a security camera app for it to record after detecting movement. On the 28th, I woke up to find another post-it note, this one saying, 'Our landlord isn't letting me talk to you, but it's important we do.' I immediately checked the webcam's folder on my computer and found nothing from the night before, but my computer's recycling bin had been emptied, which I am certain I did not do recently, indicating someone had noticed the webcam and deleted the files. They were just saved straight to my folder on my desktop called webcam. Today, on the 1st of May, I found another post-it note, this time on the outside of my door with nothing written on it, and there also appeared to be post-its on many other doors in my apartment complex, all blank in varying colors. Do I have any legal recourse here? I have no proof except for the post-its, but those are written by my pen and on my post-it notes, so conceivably I could have faked them. Would contacting the police get me in any trouble if they can't determine an outside source for this? I just want to make sure I'm not wasting anyone's time. Should I consult my landlord, those also living in the complex?" The entry is already extremely odd and a bit concerning, but in a later edit the uploader mentioned something that took his story to a whole new level of creepy. Edit: I pulled up a letter I received from my landlord back when I moved in, and the handwriting is identical. Could this count as evidence? After reading the post, most people would probably find it odd that the user's landlord could have any information about him that he didn't explicitly mention in their conversations. Based on the information in the post alone, it would be almost impossible for an ordinary person to figure out what was causing the mysterious post-it notes to appear in the uploader's apartment. The unusual nature of the entry made more than a few users think that the uploader was making the story up. So, the handwriting is identical, and the landlord wrote that the landlord doesn't want the landlord to talk to you? You're probably sleepwalking. Also, I think you're making this up because you're not providing enough detail. Are they showing up after you wake up? So they were there at night? Did you find the post-its coming home? Did you find the one behind your desk by chance, or noticeably the same day? Others jumped into the thread to give the uploader advice. Get one of the door locks that can only be unlocked from the inside. If it's the landlord and he is using his key, then he won't be able to get in, at least through the front door. But it wasn't until several hours later that another user named Kakerlak responded to the entry with a comment that took the thread in a very different direction. "You seem sincere, and this doesn't appear to be the plot of a Ray Bradbury story. It's possible that your landlord is leaving notes inside your apartment, but they don't make any sense in the context you're describing them. It's likely that you're writing the notes yourself, but you are forgetting. Do you use post-it notes as reminders in any other parts of your life or job? Yes, this might be a mental health issue. You might be experiencing some sort of dissociative disorder. Or it might be a physical problem. You mentioned that you have a very unusual narrow bedroom with no windows. Is there a chance that you are not getting enough ventilation when you sleep, or that there is a carbon monoxide leak in the building? A cheap CO detector, which you should have anyway, is a fast way to find out. You also have really bad headaches. You know your own medical and mental history and your other experiences. If you think these incidents might be you, writing notes to yourself, there's no shame in getting someone qualified to give you an opinion." As you probably know, carbon monoxide is an odorless gas that is incredibly dangerous for humans. At low concentrations, it can cause headaches, dizziness, and confusion, but at high levels, it can easily kill you. For Kakerlak to know that the user had an unusually narrow bedroom with no windows, he would have had to go through some of R. Bradbury's older posts, which is ultimately what gave him enough information to come up with a solid hypothesis and potentially save the uploader's life. 3 years after the incident, WBUR Boston Public Radio turned the thread into a podcast episode as a part of their Endless Thread cooperative project with Reddit. In the episode, they interviewed Kakerlak, whose real name is Ken Roach, an engineer who had been through a similar experience with carbon monoxide. When asked about how he came up with his hypothesis, he replied, "There was a past post where R. Bradbury 1920 was asking in an interior design subreddit about how to fit a desk and bed into a really narrow apartment that they were moving into that didn't have any windows. That got me thinking, gosh, an apartment in Boston with no windows, of course they're hallucinating. Their landlord is not coming in and writing notes, but why are they hallucinating? R. Bradbury replied to Kakerlak's comment just a few minutes later saying, I have had really bad headaches, and I actually already do have a CO detector. Guess I should probably take that out of its box and plug it in. The fact that the uploader incorrectly set up the webcam and assumed the files had been deleted was probably related to the confusion caused by carbon monoxide poisoning, a theory that many of the comments in the thread seem to echo. Following the original uploader's reply, several users jumped into the thread to praise Kakerlak and highlight how badly things could have turned out if he hadn't been active on the thread at that exact moment. Kakerlak just saved your life, R. Bradbury 1920, literally. Seriously, send that guy money. The probability of joining these two people, one with the problem and the other with the ability to pick out the details and propose a hypothesis, is absolutely insane. R. Bradbury 1920 could have choked on himself for years before reaching this conclusion. Talk about crowdsourcing information. In a comment that he made on another post a couple of years later, R. Bradbury provided a few more details that clarified his situation a little more. In my case, it had to do with my bedroom not having windows. It was not technically a bedroom, but cheap apartments and rules don't get along, and my unit being directly over the parking garage. There were numerous other issues with the building that further facilitated the severity of my situation, including, as you mentioned, issues with the furnace and ventilation. Since the incident in 2015, R. Bradbury has been active on several threads, replying to people who were in similar situations to him and helping them understand the symptoms of carbon monoxide poisoning. After Kakerlak's life-saving reply in the original post, there was one small detail that was left unresolved. Why did the landlord's handwriting match the writing on the post-it notes? Although R. Bradbury never commented on the matter himself, other Redditors in the thread came up with their own theories. Bit late to the thread, but how does that explain the fact that the notes had the landlord's handwriting? Guess I hadn't caught that. Either everything is a lie, his handwriting looks odd when he's tripping on carbon monoxide, or he was just being paranoid. That doesn't explain how the landlord's handwriting looks identical to the post-it notes. Bad handwriting while blacked out mixed with paranoia? I don't know, man, I'm not the OP. Considering the uploader initially thought the post-its were being left there by the landlord, it's highly likely that he imitated the handwriting from the letter in his confused and potentially paranoid state. This is the only loose end of the incident that was left unresolved. But one thing we know for certain is that if Kakerlak hadn't replied to the post as quickly as he did, things could have ended tragically for R. Bradbury, and probably some of his neighbors as well. At around 1 a.m. on October 4th, 2010, Reddit user Khaled the Gypsy posted a concerning entry with the title, "Does this mean the FBI is after us?" Me and my friend went to the mechanic today, and we found this on his car. I'm pretty confident it's a tracking device by the FBI, but my friend's roommate thinks it's a bomb. Any thoughts? Edit 1. I should also clarify that the FBI had an interest in my friend since his father passed away, as he was a religious leader, and they've made attempts at contacting my friend to spew racist questions. Edit 2. I should have been more clear when clarifying, but religious Muslim leader, and I'm an ENT. But it was my friend's car, and he doesn't use Reddit. My plan was to just put the device on another car or in a lake, but when you come home to two stoned people who are hearing things in the device and convinced it's a bomb, you just gotta be sure. Edit 3. More pictures. Edit 4. People keep repeating some posts, so I'll address the more frequently asked questions here. The device was found near the exhaust, but further in. My friend's father was a Muslim religious leader. It is not an ex-girlfriend that placed the device on his car, nor some random other employer or such. He bought the car a little under a year ago, and it wasn't there for sure then. Last edit. I'm doing another post because the story has many new developments, hopefully within a few hours. A comment that quickly rose to the top read, "It's a Guardian ST820. It's a GPS tracking unit made by the company Cobham. The product line is called Orion." The Redditor who said that the battery and magnetic unit is handmade is wrong. You've got the standard kit. It's sold like that by Cobham. Sales is restricted to Army and law enforcement. Too long didn't read, yes, FBI or police is after you. Naturally, other Redditors joined the thread with all kinds of questions and comments, especially regarding the legality of tracking someone who presumably didn't have a criminal background. It was recently ruled that if your car's in your driveway, it's in a public place and the police can put any kind of tracking device they like on it. Welcome to the free world. That's more than a little terrifying. Which is why you park your cars in the garage. Would it then technically be illegal to remove it? Why is it so big? That looks like a GPS tracker from 1992. because it was built for performance and durability and not to make roadkill envious. The large cylinder that looks like a mag light is a battery pack that'll power the thing for weeks. At one point in the discussion, the OP asked, "Are there any lawyers in this field reading this? If yes, please advise." I am. My advice is that you get your friend a lawyer fast. On October 7th, 2010, just 2 days after the original entry, the OP posted this update. Update 2, does this mean the FBI is after us? The original post here is the first part of the story. That being said, the follow-up for my friend's story is actually on wired.com as a story there. The FBI is actually now trying to get in touch with me about some posts. So as not to anger our government agency any more than I already have, I won't be posting a lot about that, but feel free to ask any questions regarding my friend and I. According to the Wired.com article, the FBI sent a half-dozen agents to the uploader's friend's house in Santa Clara, California, less than 48 hours after the original Reddit entry was posted. From my research, Khaled the Gypsy's friend, then 20-year-old Yasser Afifi, is the son of the late Aladdin Afifi, former president of the Muslim Community Association in California. Although Aladdin himself moved to Egypt in 2003, his son Yasser returned to California alone in 2008 while his father and brothers stayed in Egypt. Because of the government's perception of his father's work, he had been on a federal watch list for a while and was regularly taken aside at airports for secondary screening. On the day he was visited by the FBI, the agents demanded their tracking device back and made it a point to let Yasser know that they knew pretty much everything about his life, including where he and his girlfriend frequently went out to eat, that he had been laid off from his old job and hired at a new firm, and was planning a business trip to Dubai soon. After interrogating and intimidating him for a while, they brought up the fact that his friend Khaled, the original uploader in the Reddit thread, had recently made a blog post on another site that allegedly had something to do with a mall or a bomb. After an unidentified person called the FBI to let them know Yasser and his friend were threats to national security, the two friends were immediately flagged, even though it was later found out that Khaled's blog post was meant as a casual joke in an online forum. Eventually, the FBI left both of them alone, but the case caught the attention of the American Civil Liberties Union as the tracking device was installed following a recent ruling saying it's legal for law enforcement to secretly place a tracking device on a suspect's car without getting a warrant, even if the car is parked in a private driveway. As soon as the whole mess was cleared up, Yasser and Khaled's case was used to challenge the ruling on tracking devices, which is a battle that continues to this day. The two friends haven't been bothered by the FBI again. On January 21st, 2016, a Reddit thread titled, "To those who have accidentally killed someone, what went wrong?" was started by a user on the site. Although the entire discussion was later deleted by moderators, I was able to find the original post using a Reddit Wayback Machine. In the days following the upload, the thread received almost 7,000 upvotes and more than 10,000 comments with people confessing to all kinds of horrible crimes they had accidentally committed in the past. As in any other Reddit discussion, most of the responses were obviously fake. However, a few of them were actually believable. Not sure if it was an accident, but while in college in my first apartment, I came home from work at 3 a.m. Some dude was in the hallway outside my door, and I had a bad feeling about it. I paused and went to get the mail, hoping he would leave. Nope, I came back and he was waiting at my door. I asked him what was up, and he said he was looking for John. My name is not John, and I lived alone. I asked him to move and let me in my door. He told me to F off and get John. I slid between him and the door, opened it, and he pushed his way in. I pushed him out. He took a swing at me. I swung back, hitting him in the eye, which caused him to fall back and hit his head. Out cold, forever. Apparently, John was the guy who lived in the apartment before me. The dead guy spent 5 years in jail because of John ratting him out for drugs. Dead guy came back to get some revenge, got dead instead. Most of the comments were similar in nature to this one, but one particular response made by a now deleted account stood out more than any of the others. This still haunts me to this day. As kids, we had a hideout in a dirt cliff/cove. This is the best approximation I can find on Google, only 3 times taller and probably 10 times as wide. There was a neighborhood kid who, in hindsight, was probably mentally handicapped in some way, but to us he was just a weird/creepy kid. This was the 80s and we weren't exactly raised PC. 3 of us were headed to our base and found creepy kid sitting on top of our guard chair. We yelled at him to get out, and he said something like "make me," and started lobbing dirt clods and sticks down at us. We all ran around the side to make our way up. It gets pretty fuzzy here, but all I remember is he fell. I still remember the sound. When we got back down to check on him, he was in a very awkward position with blood coming out of his mouth. We all just freaked out and ran home, and as far as I know, no one has spoken a word of this to anyone. We didn't go back for over a month, and never said a word of it between us. Again, this was the 80s, so media wasn't like today. Chances are I got a small article in the newspaper B section. Missing mentally disabled child found dead after fall, or something like that. Most of the responses to that confession were pretty unremarkable, but one comment sparked a mystery that remains unsolved to this day. Was it Scott Kleesholt? He went missing in 1988 in St. Charles, Missouri, correct? That would make you around 10 or 11 at the time he went missing. He would have been 9. The fact that the response included such specific information on a particular case raised a red flag for many users of the platform who went to do their own research on the case. According to what I found, Scott Kleesholt was a young boy who grew up in the 80s about 20 minutes from St. Louis, across the Missouri River. He loved playing outside in nature and spent most of his time exploring an area near his home known as the Trails, where the locals went to bike and hike and explore the vast network of underground caves and tunnels. June 8, 1988 was the day of Scott's first grade graduation. His parents had promised him that they would buy him a new pair of shoes and take him out to dinner to celebrate the occasion, and when he got back from school, he went to the trails to play while he waited for them to get ready. To make a very long story short, Scott never came back, and his disappearance was immediately reported by his family. Unfortunately, a violent storm broke out that night, followed by a series of flash floods, which complicated the search for the boy. Despite the leads that popped up in the case over the years, the disappearance of Scott Kleesholt remains a mystery to this day. In 2011, the case was featured on an episode of Nancy Grace, in which Scott's older brother gave his account of what happened on the day of his brother's disappearance.
Who was the last person to see him?
As far as I know, family and friends would have been my older sister Stacy before she had left for work and stuff. And she was there when he had come home and changed after school and that. So as far as I know, it was Stacy.
And what did Stacy see?
He was, the last time she had seen him, he was at the top of the hill just playing, running around, being a kid like we did. You know, I know people say not to play in the streets, but that's where we played, up at the top of the street, and that's where he was.
And this was a fairly urban but rural area too. You were sort of out in the country, right, where kids just could feel free to play?
Yeah, it was a neighborhood. I mean, it was a neighborhood full of 100 kids probably in the neighborhood, but, you know, right 5 minutes from our house was nothing. Farmlands and fields and dirt trails and stuff like that.
How violent was that storm late afternoon, and did you think your brother had just hidden to have cover?
Yeah, it was a pretty bad storm. You know, it just came and went pretty quick. You know, I don't think he necessarily hid somewhere. We just assumed that he was inside someone's house, you know, playing inside with another friend. You know, and that's just kind of then started knocking on doors, on every door.
What's most disturbing about the Reddit comment, however, is that almost immediately after the user posted the comment regarding the accidental potential death, the confession along with his entire account was deleted, which came off as extremely suspicious to other Redditors in the thread. According to the St. Louis Post, Scott was last seen in the 3300 block of Leverens Drive near the trails. Based on the current Google Maps aerial view of the location, the description of the area by the Reddit user initially doesn't seem to match up with the images, but one user on another thread mentioned that the location that is now Fox Hill Park in St. Charles had dirt trails and several steep gorges cutting through it in 1990. It's a little over a mile by foot from the last sighting of Scott Kleesholt. Route I-370 wasn't built then, so it was accessible by foot. Today it has been graded somewhat and has stormwater management areas, but you can still see the cliffs. Based on this account, it's not hard to see how the Reddit user's story could match up with what actually happened. Although none of this is certain, the similarities between the two accounts, coupled with the fact that the user deleted his account after being called out, made it a very real possibility that he was somehow tied to Scott Kleesholt's disappearance. Even though the entire thread was deleted by moderators, the user who responded to the confession and suggested the boy being described could have been Scott posted an update that same year in a different thread to make sure the post got the attention it deserved. I'm only posting here as it was removed from r/askreddit, and they didn't seem keen on the idea of reinstating after I removed the potentially identifiable info. And if this has any chance of getting public awareness on these kids or this story and potentially bringing some closure to the families of the missing ones, then I want people to see it. Since that day in 2016, there have been no further relevant updates to the case, which means we'll likely never know what happened to Scott or if the mysterious Redditor had anything to do with it. On July 29, 2019, user IcemanThrowaway123 posted an entry in the Afraid to Ask subreddit, which ended up getting over 20,000 upvotes and thousands of comments and replies. The title of the entry was, 12 mysterious and identical stores open up on my street. What could be happening? It read, I live just outside a big city in what resembles a suburban main street. Like many suburban main streets, retail business has been rough and they've all closed down. After a month of nothingness, suddenly 12, yes a dozen, identical convenience stores pop up. They look the same, they aim for the same floor plan, they sell the same products at the same prices. The names are all tiny variations of each other, like Town Name Mart or Market of Town Name, and all clearly bought their signs from the same place as the fonts, colors, size, and shapes are all identical. These stores see no business that I've ever witnessed, yet have large staff numbers and are surviving way longer than any of the former stores that closed on this street. When I enter one, they all stare at me while I shop. I don't usually get nervous, but it feels like they're staring threateningly rather than intently. They only accept cash unless you pay some $50. Most of their products are Walmart brand great value products being resold for higher prices. Most of the products are expired food products. I bought bread from one without checking because I was in a rush, and it turned out it was 2 months expired. Upon returning to show them, I found the entire shelf was expired foods. What was even grosser was the dairy cooler, which had ancient milk products. I'm so confused. I feel like I'm in an episode of The Twilight Zone. What's probably happening here? Update 1. Stayed late at work and didn't end up going yesterday. Sorry for the swarm of people who did remind me with one day. I'm reading through the comments to determine what to do, if anything at all. Sorry for the less than eventful update, but given how many people were saying I was gonna die, I'm just gonna point out that I'm alive and well. At first, other Redditors in the thread were understandably confused at why 12 identical and highly suspicious stores would suddenly pop up in a random suburban neighborhood in an unnamed town, and several users jumped in to ask for pictures of the location. Can you take pictures, please? Yeah, if it's a criminal organization, this probably isn't the best idea. This is actually the craziest story setup I've heard in a long time. Does every single one have the creepy people using expired food? All the stores have expired food and seem fresh every single week. One I found is a noticeable effort for keeping things fresh, but still has dairy products. Does the food actually fresh, or does it just rotate through the stores? You said one store usually has fresh food. Is there a chance that they buy it from the distributor and then act like the distributor for the next store, so all 12 stores are always stocked, but they only have to buy it once? This is crazy, but it also makes so much sense. Because the OP took a while to answer in the thread, other users started coming up with theories regarding what could be happening, with most of the speculation pointing to a potential money laundering or human trafficking scheme. One user with a now deleted account shared a similar experience by responding, 1000% money laundering. We had a pizza place on my block that was always open but never sold any products. One time, shortly after I moved here, I walked in and asked for a slice, and the guy at the counter stared at me looking confused, then walked into the back. He came back out with, I'm pretty sure, a slice of pizza from the Domino's next door that had been reheated in the microwave. He just slid it over to me and said nothing, so I had to ask for a price. Again, he looked genuinely confused and was like, $4. Apparently everyone in the neighborhood knew what was up, so the guy didn't understand why someone was there looking for pizza. Other users had different ideas. That's it, I bet it's human trafficking. The concept being that they pop up stores where they can rotate 4 to 6 employees from the stock room to the front. With 4 to 6 employees available 24 hours, you could definitely bring in the cash to justify a small retail space in a small town, and expensive property costs. Is your small town close to a larger metropolis by chance? Yeah, it's either for drug trafficking, human trafficking, or some type of money laundering. Stay away. When the question of why whoever was behind the operation would open 12 stores instead of just 1 or 2, if it really was human trafficking or a drug operation, user AlphaPad23 replied, My thought is that they aren't afraid of getting caught. It's likely that they have some people in their pockets. While it's definitely a possibility that the stores were being used as a front for a trafficking or laundering operation, other users had slightly different theories, including user Goose and Fish, who replied, What county is it in? One slightly less shady possibility is some sort of tax shelter. Open a lot of business that fail and write off losses. Are the employees all the same ethnic group? Not trying to be racist, but maybe some rich family is trying to hide money in another country by buying foreign real estate. Maybe they have to make businesses appear to be legit in order to not pay taxes. This may be the best guess on here. That explains the expired food. In the hours that followed the original post, the LP remained somewhat active on the thread, vaguely answering questions about the location of the stores and other details that his fellow Redditors were curious about. In one of the comments, Iceman Throwaway 123 mentioned, "I hope this isn't giving away my location details, but the town is old. Not the town, but the people in it. It's basically a retirement community, and I often joke I'm the youngest person in the whole zip code by 30 years. Honestly, might be true. I don't have many people to talk to about it. I did have friends over a month ago who I showed. Their reactions were like mine, shock and disbelief, but we were drunk and more focused on having fun than chasing conspiracies." Eventually, because the uploader failed to post any pictures or even mention the location of the town, more and more Redditors started to assume the post was fake. Look, you made a throwaway. Why not say the city/area or at least give us some hints so we can conclude it ourselves? This sounds so bizarre that it has to be fake. There has to be some way to get authority involved if all they sell is expired goods. Dude, this reads like a creepypasta. That's because it's fake. No updates. Suspicious. No update, no pictures, no name of town. I kinda doubt any of this is real. After a few days, the LP stopped responding altogether. That was the last post, comment, or thread he ever participated in with that account. Whether or not this story is actually true is still up in the air. The post remains a mystery to this day. In 2011, the subreddit The Truth Is Here was created for people to share personal encounters with the paranormal and unknown. Since its creation, the subreddit has seen a lot of odd and interesting posts, with some of them rightfully being very disturbing. On September 9th, 2013, a user posted the following entry from a now deleted account. "This is not something I feel I can discuss with my family or personal friends, but I'm losing my mind here, so I feel the need to work through it with someone. As such, I'll try to give as many details as possible, but I don't want this getting back to me, and I feel a throwaway account would cause credibility. Here's what's going on. I lived in this apartment complex 4 years ago when I was 16 years old. We did not stay here long due to problems with the lease, but during that time I spent quite a few hours walking around the grounds. Now, on the east side of the complex is a bike trail that's raised up on a slope. It makes a half circle around the complex and then carries on into the rest of the city. One night, I was walking my dog Shasta along this trail. It was around 10 p.m. in May, so it was pretty dark at that point. I reached the bend in the trail where the path leaves the complex, and there was a guy standing there. White guy, maybe 35 years old. Couldn't see his eyes. He was not doing anything. Smoking, walking a dog, tying his shoe. He was doing nothing at all. He was wearing a puffy down coat and had his hands in his pockets, and he was just staring at me. I laughed a little and tried to make that awkward kind of conversation that you do when you bump into a stranger, but the guy said nothing, just kept staring. So me and the dog sidled around him and walked on. But I eventually got nervous and cut through the trees to get back to my apartment without going on the trail again. I knew the way home from there, even without the trail, but here's the thing, the second I stepped off the trail, I can't remember anything past that. It was like I blinked, and suddenly I was in the hall inside my building, turning a key in the lock of my apartment. Fast forward 3.5 years, I was 19, 7 months pregnant, and moving into a new place with my fiance. As fate would have it, we moved back to the apartment complex I lived in when I was 16. It was cheap, it was comfortable, and near where my fiance works. We ended up in a unit 4 buildings down on the east side of the complex, directly across from the bike trail. A week into living there, I went to take out the trash. I would have had my fiance do it, but I wanted to get off my feet, so I waddled outside to the dumpster. The dumpster, which is right next to the bike trail. I closed the lid on the dumpster, and after the bang of the lid, I hear someone talking. Look up, and guess who is standing on the bike trail? You guessed it, white guy, mid-30s, and still wearing the same down coat. He had a cell phone to his ear, but not the new, flat kind. It was an older flip phone, circa 2005 or so. Anyway, he was talking into the phone, and he sounded pissed. He was cussing at someone on the other end, someone named Lauren. But you know how when people have a phone conversation and they tend to duck their heads down and not look at other people? Yeah, he wasn't doing that. He was looking right at me. After a second of this, I started backing up, and he started walking toward me. After a second, he was off the grass hill and onto the parking lot, and he took the phone from his ear. He then started snapping it into pieces, tearing out the antenna, breaking the screen off, and angrily throwing them all onto the parking lot ground, still looking at me. I turned around and ran back into the building as fast as I could, and I don't remember what happened next. Next thing I knew, I was on a bed in the maternity ward. There was a fetal monitor strapped around me, and I had a saline IV in my arm. My fiance was there. After a bit of confusion, we worked out this. I came in from taking out the trash, and I was calm. I didn't say anything about the guy with the cell phone. I watched an episode of Battlestar Galactica with my fiance and started throwing up a bit, which was normal for my pregnant self. But I spiked a pretty nasty fever later, so there we were at 5 a.m. in the hospital making sure I was okay. All this time, apparently, I was perfectly alert, and on the way to the hospital, I apparently talked about our plans for the upcoming Christmas. I was discharged an hour later. They said I had the flu. They gave me Tamiflu and told me to sleep it off and stay indoors. When we pulled into the apartment parking lot, I got out of the car and looked for the cell phone he dropped. It was there, but it looked like it had been run over, probably by us, and was cracked into dozens of pieces. I collected what I could, and it looks like it was a Nokia 6085. This happened in December 2012. Today is Monday, September 9th, 2013. I have not seen the man in the down coat since then, until this morning. My fiance, yep, still not married, leaves for work at 6 a.m. Not working until 1 p.m. myself, I'm usually still asleep at this point. Around 8 a.m., I got up and put a robe on because somebody was knocking on our door. Shasta was growling at the door, which was a little unusual. She will typically bark at people, but never growl. I told her to go to her kennel, and she sulked away, and I answered the door. I should have looked through the peephole first, but I didn't, and I cannot express how much I regret that. The man in the coat was on the other side. I remember seeing him, and I remember wondering, why is he still wearing that coat in this weather? But after that, I remember nothing. I woke up an hour and a half ago sitting at my kitchen table. The first thing I noticed was how unbearably hot it was in the apartment. I went to the thermostat and found that it had been set to 90 degrees and was blowing out hot air. I wasn't wearing my robe anymore. I was dressed for the day in my work uniform, and I'm getting ready to leave soon. My baby, now 7 months old, was in her crib. She was crying, evidently not having been fed or changed. There was pee all over her bed, as her diaper had leaked. Shasta was laying by the crib, whimpering. I fed the baby, got her changed, and checked my dog for any injuries. She wasn't hurt. I'm not hurt either, but there is blood on the floor by my doorway. I wonder if Shasta bit the man. I don't know. He's gone, and from what I can tell, nothing has been stolen from the place. What do I do now? Edit. In case it's not obvious, I seem to have lost an hour and a half in this last encounter. It was 8:07 a.m. when I got up, and by the time I had the sense to check the clock again, it was about 9:45. Due to the level of detail the user provided, it seems unlikely that the story was made up for attention. In fact, nobody in the thread accused her of lying at any point, which is pretty rare in online forums. Most people immediately recognize the uploader's problems as symptoms of a serious neurological issue. I'd go to the doctor. I really hope not, but what if you have a brain tumor? It could cause some vivid hallucinations. Also, losing time is typical of a seizure. It could be many things, but I hope it's really just something that has nothing to do with health. Could be the man in the white coat is your brain communicating that you're about to have a seizure. I'm with the others. You need to visit a neurologist. Unfortunately, since the account that made the post has been deleted, there was no way for me to find any potential updates made by the uploader. However, she didn't reply to any of the comments made on the thread she started, which means she was either able to get the help she needed, or something ended up happening to her.
Reddit, the front page of the internet, home to 1.6 billion monthly active users. It's an app for everybody, and with that, it has a dark side. This is a journey into Reddit's most disturbing users ever recorded. Starting with one of Reddit's oldest users, Carl H. His account opened back in 2006, less than a year after its release. For the first couple of years on Reddit, he was barely known. Most of his activity was on political and religious posts. This is typical on Reddit, and it's what his account looked like for 3 years. But in September 2009, Carl H came up with an idea that would bring him fame in the Reddit world. Carl H made a post on R programming, offering a free programming course where he could share his 15 years of professional programming knowledge. He explained that he really enjoyed teaching other people how to program, and that with some spare time, he could help those running into issues on their programming journey. He explained that it's just me being nice and hopefully helping someone out. His offer interested many because within the next few hours, the post received hundreds of comments and Carl H's inbox blew up with programming requests. But he didn't just want to help a few people, he wanted to help everybody. So over the next few weeks, he made hundreds of posts as a free course for all levels of skill, from total beginner to expert. Carl H spent much of his day helping users and replying to comments. If you look at his profile history, you'll see thousands of comments and posts while Carl H made somebody's life a whole lot easier. Carl H was even known to join Skype calls with various users to teach them, even creating a YouTube channel. And so a few months later, he now had over 8,000 followers on Reddit. And this is when he'd open up a free-to-use programming website called computerscienceforeveryone.com. This was a man willing to solve problems and really go the extra mile to help a stranger out. Over 2 years, Carl H gained traction and had over 20,000 followers on his subreddit, and his YouTube channel had over 30,000 subscribers, a phenomenal amount back in 2012. Simply put, the Reddit community loved him. So much so that on July 26, 2012, Carl H received the notable prize Redditor of the Day. But in the middle of November 2013, he suddenly vanished. Both Carl's Reddit and YouTube accounts just ceased operations. The programming subreddits continued, but somebody was missing. The silence was loud and his followers noticed something was off. So after a week, most just assumed he was on a break or too busy returning from work. Some even suggested it could have been health issues. But a couple weeks later, one Reddit user found an article about an individual named Carl Harold, the father of a 9-year-old child. This individual was a single father, left to take care of his boy, and Carl and his son lived with his romantic partner, Charles Dunovat. Carl's son wasn't getting much of a life. See, the article claimed that after a lengthy FBI investigation, Carl Harold and Charles Dunovat were arrested for creating, participating in, distributing illicit images of an underage child. And it was discovered that Carl's child had been held captive in his basement for at least 8 months. He was not allowed to go to school or see a doctor. Instead, it was Carl and his partner who would ethically abuse and film what they were doing, distributing the content online. The FBI found the adult content images posted online, and this led to a full investigation which led to their arrest. The case was ongoing. At first, most of Carl H's followers claimed it was unlikely that this was Carl H. Others claimed that even if it was the same Carl, an arrest didn't mean he's guilty. How was it possible this extremely helpful geeky programmer who helped thousands of people could commit such crimes? It didn't seem likely that these two were connected. Just because they had similar initials really didn't mean they were the same person. But because this was Reddit, some people were curious if this really was the same person. And so these Reddit users would go over his Reddit account, where they would find some rather strange posts. In some of his earliest posts, Carl H would defend the Christian faith, and in many of his posts he would always talk about Christianity. For instance, in this post titled, "How Evangelical Children Learn About Abortion," the post brought up the controversial Jesus Camp documentary, and Carl H was in the comments defending Christian camps for children. Quote, "As a 12-year-old, I attended a Christian summer camp, had a fantastic time, had memories that will live with me forever, and I met new friends, and overall had a great time. There is nothing wrong with a Christian summer camp, and the vile hatred which exists against Christians is just plain wrong and totally unwarranted," which was the first bit of information about his childhood. In other posts he spoke about gay marriage and homosexual activity within the Bible. He explained how the Bible leaves no room for interpretation and that homosexuality was a sin. In fact, many of his posts consisted of these sorts of controversial views, and he was happy to argue with anyone that didn't agree with him. But his religious background and anti-gay views directly contradicted the person in the article. This is a pattern that the world has seen time and time again. Anti-gay activists using homophobia as a front to hide their own homosexual tendencies. But eventually a comment was found where Carl revealed his name. Reddit can make it happen. What's your name? Carl Harold. And another post, Carl H spoke about his own child, saying he'd want to homeschool his 3-year-old. A post he made dating back 6 years, making his child 9 years old. As soon as this was pointed out, reality settled in. Carl Harold was a kitty toucher and with his own son. All of the talks about Carl H were that of pure hatred. He had hundreds of photos that would make anyone sick to their stomach. People were horrified about the man they were following. According to the reports, it was eventually clear that both men were involved, but for some reason it was said that Carl thought he stood a good chance to win the case. I mean, Carl was facing 18 accounts of charges, including conspiracy to commit sodomy, conspiracy to commit astral charges, and touching under 12 people, as well as aggravated child harm, to name a few. When Carl was eventually arrested, the state assigned him a lawyer, who Carl declined and hired his own defense lawyer. However, this would prove to be in vain. Before the set time to appear in court on November 21st, Carl was found dead in his cell, because on November 3rd, Carl had taken his own life. As for his partner in crime, he was eventually sentenced to 56 years in prison. Both news media and his Reddit community showed no remorse, calling him a coward and man who couldn't face the consequences of his own actions. Quote, "Rest in pain and hope you in hell." That's how Carl H went from Redditor of the Day to the most hated Redditor. But hiding who you really are on the internet is pretty simple. And the story of Galpticos is no different. Now, if you've browsed his Reddit account, you think a few things. He loves games, he loves memes, and he's probably a little bit depressed. Galpticos opened his account on September 2nd, 2017, and he quickly became, well, a nobody on the platform. He spent a lot of time on Reddit, making comments on subreddits like r/memes, r/Fortnite VR, and Ask Reddit. There was nothing that made Galpticos stand out from any other Reddit user. So why is he in this video? Well, over the 2 years Galpticos' account was open, he would slowly show signs of depression and alluded to how little he felt about himself. In a Reddit post titled, quote, "People who used to be straight A students but later changed, what happened?" we see Galpticos explain that he's been dealing with depression from when he was in high school. Quote, "Getting A's was super easy for me, but once I got into high school I became depressed. I was able to ace quizzes and tests, but my grade in the class itself would be B's simply because I didn't turn in any of the assignments or labs or whatever." Then over his next few hundred posts on the platform, he casually noticed depression more and more. In another post he claimed that he wished his parents were more strict because now he's a useless waste of space. He joked that he'd wish he was never born and that he was forced to fake smiles out in public. But once again, in the Reddit world, he went unnoticed. Even if you browsed his average post, it was just a comment on some meme. But behind the scenes, the man behind the screen was a ticking time bomb, and something evil was cooking up inside of his head. Over time, the posts about self-hate continued. One post on Ask Reddit with the question, "What has been the most depressing moment / realization of your life so far?" Galpticos gave a glimpse of exactly what was going on in his head. "Even though I was lucky enough to be born with a good family, a good home, have good friends, live in one of the most privileged countries in the world, and have the ability to fix any problems I have, I'm too useless to fix any of them, and I'm still unhappy." Nobody knew, but this person seriously needed help. Unfortunately, he wouldn't get it, and the consequences of this were way worse than you can possibly imagine. Farron Towid was a 19-year-old male who lived in Texas. He was semi-close with his older brother, Tanvir Towid, and although he didn't get the best grades in school, he did make it to university. But things didn't work out, as halfway through the year, Farron decided to drop out. So he moved back to his house in Texas with his family. Farron didn't do too much. He spent a lot of time playing games like Portal and Fortnite, or sat with the family while on his phone, and his online alliance was Galpticos, the one he'd chosen when he played Roblox when he was much younger. As you'd expect, Farron struggled with depression. While Farron didn't see a professional earlier in his life, apparently the person he spoke to about his depression didn't help too much. At least he was diagnosed with depression and got some medication. And it did seem like his life was going to get better. Farron and his brother made a 3D graphics engine, which he seemed to be proud of, motivating him to potentially return to college, or so he claimed. But it didn't amount to anything as his self-loathing held him back. Instead, Farron started to watch The Office. It was his only escape from reality, but by the time the show finished, he felt like it was all finished, and he had nothing left to do. And so on the day that Farron finished The Office, he spoke to his brother about depression. His brother was going through similar levels of depression, and so the pair made a pact. They agreed that if their depression wasn't cured within a year, the two would kill their entire family, then turn the guns on themselves. They tried their best to improve, but a year was too long, so the pair changed the agreement to just a month. And many of the posts shown to you earlier was during the last couple of months of his life. And so the brothers started to prepare for their final day together. Tanvir purchased a firearm from the local store without an issue. He explained how easy it was to Farron, and he said he simply had to lie a little on the application. On April 5th, 2021, authorities were alerted to a very distressing note shared online by Farron. The Instagram post started with, "Hey everyone, I killed myself and my family," followed by a lengthy post. He went into extreme detail on his decision to end his and his family's life. A friend of Farron's called the police for a wellness check, but it was too late. As the police entered the property, they were met with the horrifying scene of blood and bodies around the house. Farron's grandmother, who was only there because it was Easter weekend, was also killed. The incident went unnoticed at first, only coming to light due to the concerning message posted online. The two would then take the lives of their family, after which they would take their own life. The police arrived on Monday. The suicide note Farron posted included statements like, "If I'm gonna die, I might as well get some attention." He shared his struggles with mental health challenges and his journey towards seeking a sense of relief, adding in a whole section about why The Office should have ended when Michael left. He then added in a section talking about his GitHub. The GitHub had the name Galpticos written in the file names, which was how people online managed to put the Reddit account to the person. And in his message, he shared his thought process behind his actions, highlighting his belief that it would prevent further sadness for others in his family by taking their lives as well. And whilst he didn't reach out for help himself, the next person on our list did. and this didn't mean a happy ending. Jason in hell went to our relationship advice and posted a long detailed Reddit post after he'd found out his wife had cheated on him. Quote, "I'm having a hard time coping with my wife having cheated on me with our neighbor." The now deleted post was over 1,700 words long, and as his username suggests, was a story of a person named Jason living with a wife that made him feel like he was living in hell. And Jason in hell wanted to know if it was his time to take his life. But no one could possibly imagine that this would lead to such a horrifying and tragic outcome. You see, the post starts with Jason in hell explaining that all his issues started in May 2015. At the time, he was extremely busy with a new project at work and was working very long hours. One of the days he was home, he found that his wife, Brandy Worley, also aged 30, had put a password on her phone, which was odd as she'd never done this before. Finding this unusual, Jason quickly called it out with Brandy. She reasoned that she was planning a Father's Day surprise and that she didn't want him to see and ruin it, but eventually she let out the surprise. Brandy had organised that their neighbour would build an office for him. What struck Jason as odd though was that she said she had felt guilty, whereas before, in all the 6 years that they were married, she said she never regretted anything. So why guilty? Even though the secret was now out, Brandy kept her passcode on the phone, and over the next few weeks, Jason often watched as Brandy smiled at her phone. But if he asked about who she was talking to, she would mumble some excuse and then put her phone away. Finally, Jason felt anxious enough about the situation, waited until she was in the shower, and grabbed the phone before the screen turned off. He opened her messages and found one little suggestive and sexy message sent to his neighbour. The message read, "I'm all covered in frosting. You want to lick it off?" Jason didn't overreact. Instead, he justifies it that was probably a bad joke. After all, this was the only message between the two. So a couple weeks pass. The office is taking a long time to complete and the neighbour is at his house often. Call it intuition, but Jason smells something is up, so he starts looking at Brandy's GPS and discovers that there are time gaps missing from her location. He didn't want to call Brandy out for nothing and start a fight, so he told Brandy that he needed to install a VPN on her phone. In the background, Jason installs a GPS system that he can remotely switch on and off, and an AT&T message backup so that he can access every message sent to and from his wife. At this point, Brandy was still under the impression that Jason was none the wiser. Soon after this, Brandy takes the kids to Jason's mum for the day, while Jason is at work while also watching the activity on her phone. Brandy first tries to see the neighbour, but he's busy with other projects. So later that evening, Brandy, Jason and the two kids go out to supper with their neighbour, his girlfriend and his son. The ladies enjoy their evening and then suggest they go watch a movie, Magic Mike XXL. Jason then suggests that he and the neighbour will watch the kids. The men are in the living room on the couch opposite each other. The kids are in another room playing, and that's when the messaging starts. Brandy is messaging him about sex acts that she wants to do to him, and the neighbour is responding all the while Jason is reading in real time all the messages between the two. Then she tells the neighbour to go look on Snapchat, and there's a picture of her masturbating in a bathroom stall. Then they plan when to have sex, and it was decided on Monday when Jason was at work. Jason's not reacting, but then she says she loves him, and the neighbour says, "You're my girl now." Jason is about to crack, but he somehow keeps composed. Remember, Jason is in the same room as the man he's seeing his wife cheat on him with. But there are kids in the room, and he's not a violent person, so he waits. The ladies come back from the movies. Jason makes sure the kids are in another room, and he gets everybody together. He then confronts Brandy and his neighbour. "So, you two love each other, huh?" Brandy flat out denies this, while the neighbour's girlfriend is hitting his neighbour. Then he asks his wife if she was texting him. She denied this until he showed her the messages. She takes ownership, but says it was the first time it had gone so far. Then he asked if she had sent pictures to him. Again, she denied this until he showed her again, and she says it was the first time. He then asks if they're having sex. She says no, and because there's no evidence, Jason is forced to accept her denial. The neighbor's girlfriend defends them, saying that it couldn't have been that serious, but Jason tells Brandy that he is leaving her. Brandy takes this as a moment to manipulate Jason. She explains that even if he tries to leave, she will make sure that she gets custody of the kids. She brings up how Jason attempted suicide and how she could convince the judge he is unfit. The neighbors leave and they fight for the rest of the night. They continue to argue all weekend and decide to separate. That Monday, Jason's in a meeting, and he gets a call from his wife to say that he must come home and explain to the kids why they are leaving. She had told them she had to leave because Daddy was angry at her, and that they had to come with her. The eldest of the two kids, Tyler, thought that because he had to leave too, Daddy was angry with him too. And of course, Brandy did not correct his assumption. Charlie, at age 2, also ends up crying because her big brother is crying. So then Jason goes home to his crying children and realizes that he is going to damage his kids, so he begs Brandy to stay. And as if Jason hasn't been put through enough already, Brandy has the audacity to order Jason to apologize to the neighbor if she wants her to stay for the kids' sake, as the neighbor's kids are social with their kids. So Jason apologizes even though he didn't want to, and quite frankly, he never should have. And so a year goes by, and lo and behold, Brandy sends the neighbor another picture, and when confronted, she says it was meant for him. Jason has been enduring this hell for the past year, and has come to the end of his tether, which is why he's on Reddit asking what he should do. His marriage is fake, his job has taken a hit, he hardly sleeps, and he's just emotionally spent. The Reddit comments were all straight and direct, some harsh, some comforting, some offering him advice on the legal side of it, but in the end, it was obvious that the majority agreed that he should get out, and it did give him the push he needed to get a lawyer and get out of his marriage. He writes back that while he did ask her to go to counseling, she didn't want to fix it. So he has taken their advice and is meeting with a lawyer next week to get himself and the kids out. This is where the story should have ended. Jason would have gotten divorced, as thousands do, and moved on. Sadly though, the day after Brandy got the divorce papers, at 4:45 AM, a 911 call was made that was enough to make him sick.
Montgomery County 911, where's your emergency?
203 South Madison Street,
In what town?
Darlington.
Hey, what's going on there?
I just stabbed myself and I killed my 2 children.
You stabbed yourself and killed your 2 children?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and what's your name?
Brandy Worley.
Brandy what?
Worley.
Okay. How do you spell your last name?
Worley.
And where are the children at?
In my daughter's room on the floor.
In your daughter's room on the floor? Okay. And what caused you to do this today?
My husband wanted a divorce and wanted to take my kid. I won't let him have my kid.
Okay, and how old are your children?
7 and 3.
10 and 3?
7.
7 and 3?
Mm-hmm.
Where did you stab yourself at?
In the neck.
Okay, are you bleeding?
Yeah, there's blood everywhere.
Okay, and where are you at?
In my living room.
You're in their living room?
Mm-hmm.
Are you armed now with the knife still?
No, it's in my children's room.
Hello? Okay, where's your husband at?
Downstairs somewhere.
Okay, what's his condition?
I don't know. I haven't talked to him.
And when you say downstairs, is he in a basement or?
Yeah.
Okay, what's his name?
Jason.
Is what?
Jason.
Nathan?
Jason.
Jason?
An eerie, calm Brandy tells the dispatcher that she has killed her 7-year-old son and 3-year-old daughter and stabbed herself in the neck. She doesn't sound remorseful or anything. As the dispatcher asks her more questions, you can hear that even he is battling to have empathy. In the middle of the night, she woke up her son and stabbed him to death in her daughter's room. This woke up her daughter, whom she consoled to go back to sleep, and then proceeded to stab her to death as well. The dispatcher asked why she did it, and she simply said that her husband wanted a divorce and wanted to take the kids. When asked where Jason is, Brandy says he's in the basement and she hasn't spoken to him yet. Brandy had called her mother before calling 911, and when her mother came over, the dispatcher asked her to confirm Brandy's story. And upon entering her granddaughter's room, she started screaming, "My babies!" And I just don't know. The police arrived just as the screaming woke Jason. Jason found his mother-in-law in the kitchen screaming. When Brandy sees Jason, she tells him, "Now you can't take my children away from me." Jason hasn't grasped what is going on, but as the police let him out the house, he hears the report of his 2 deceased children on the radio. Brandy tells the paramedic that she had intended to end her life, and that she somehow screwed it up. The autopsy would later show that Brandy had stabbed both children multiple times and saved little effort for herself. It was also later found that it was all premeditated. Earlier that evening, Brandy had gone to the store to buy the knife that she used to kill the children. She had told Jason it was for pipe cleaners for the kids' project. Then she hid the knife in the room. Brandy initially pleaded temporary insanity, but later changed her plea to not guilty. While her lawyers argued that her cold demeanor was a result of her detaching to cope with what she had done, it did not spare her from justice. She was sentenced to 55 years for the murder of her son and 65 for the murder of her daughter. But on the Reddit side of things, most figured that they'd heard the end of Jason in hell. He went silent for a while. One Reddit user did make the connection of a news article about the death of the 2 children, but making a connection as such was a stretch, so nobody thought much of it. A couple weeks later, Jason in hell returned, confirming what had happened. and answer some questions. For Jason, well, his life had just changed in the most drastic way possible. Jason spoke about how he'd have to go back to the house where his children were murdered, and although the cleaners had come and gone, he swore he could still smell blood in his daughter's room. He left the house saying he just couldn't stay there. He also stated that he failed as a father to protect them, and he was also left questioning if he could have stopped her. Brandy suggested sleeping on the couch instead of the mattress in the basement, and Jason often wonders if he had slept on the couch, it might have changed the outcome, or he could have died with them. Jason posted an update, which is just heartbreaking to read. The post tells of thoughts of unaliving herself and using alcohol as a means of sleep. Fortunately, his family intervened before it became a problem. He also tells how his in-laws continue to be a problem in his life, to the extent that they don't allow him to be at his children's graves unwatched. His parting words are wise and sweet. Jason encourages all to take the time to spend with their loved ones. He ends off saying that he is grateful that his last words to his children were, "I love you, good night. I will see you in the morning."
I just killed my mother. It wasn't me who killed her. It was Jeff.
Oh God, no. This ain't happening.
He killed her. He snapped.
Shane?
On Thursday, April 6, 2017, Shane Nicholas races toward home after getting word from a family member that there was a growing police presence at his house. He knows very little about the situation as he answers the distressing phone call that will change his life forever. The following report is based on police records, and most of the audio has never been heard before until now.
Hello, Mr. Nicholas?
Yeah.
Hey, this is Captain Loney with the Champaign County Sheriff's Office.
Come on, man. Everything's cool, right? Everything's okay. Please tell me everything's okay.
Let me ask you something. Where are you now?
Where are we at, man? Do you know? Melville, Indiana.
Are you driving right now?
No, I'm not.
Who's driving?
Adam?
Will you assure me that Adam will remain the driver?
Yeah, I can't drive right now. I gotta know what's going on.
All right, I'm going to tell you.
Scared, sir. I'm so scared.
Okay, sir. About 6 p.m. or so, maybe a little earlier, we responded to your house after receiving a call from a family member. There was some type of disturbance, and your wife has fallen victim as a result of that incident, and she's deceased.
I've got processing what you're telling me here.
I understand. Take your time.
No. That's not what happened. It can't happen that way. It can't happen that way.
Hours ago, at approximately 6 p.m., Champaign County dispatchers received the 911 call from Shane's 14-year-old son, though his haunting confession was the last thing anyone expected.
911, where's your emergency?
I just killed my mother. And
What happened, sir?
I just killed my mother, and I need to go to the hospital.
Captain Loney assures Shane that his son is safe and in police custody, withholding the chilling reality of the situation. As Shane's panic rises, Loney begins to probe him for answers in an effort to shed light on the unfolding nightmare.
Give me a little history on your son. And is his name, am I correct, is his name Donovan?
Oh, God, yes. Yes, Donovan Asher Nicholas.
What's his date of birth?
Oh, God, I can't think he's 14 years old.
Okay.
But is it? I don't know.
Okay. Has he been any behavior problem or anything to you?
Never. The boy is soft-spoken. He's a genius. He's very, very smart. He's non-confrontational.
Okay.
He's never done anything.
I didn't want to kill her.
No, this is not happening. This is not happening.
Has he ever inflicted harm to any family member or anything like that?
Never.
No harm to anyone?
Never. None.
Does he have friends
None.
and things of that nature?
No, he does not.
Okay, let me ask you something. Have you ever heard of someone by the name of Jeff?
Jeff.
Yeah.
No.
Okay, no Jeff. Anybody like Jeff? Anybody that sounds like Jeff? As somebody that he talks about, maybe idolizes, whatever, who knows, you know?
No.
Okay. So
Not at all. Why?
The confusing question stems from Donovan's earlier admission to the 911 dispatcher, as his confession takes a dark and twisted turn.
It wasn't me who killed her. It was Jeff.
What happened? Who did it?
Jeff. Yeah. I'm sorry, this is going to be really hard to explain, but I kind of have another person inside me. Like,
What happened to your mom?
He killed her. She snapped.
All right, are you able to say who's with you?
I am by myself, me and Jeff. But I swear it wasn't me. It was Jeff. Jeff is inside me.
Jess is inside you?
Yes.
Okay.
He sometimes takes control, and I have no control over him. I hate Jeff so much. He's gonna make me die in prison.
Investigators face the baffling mystery of why a child, whose father describes him as soft-spoken and harmless, would suddenly turn on his own mother. Could Jeff be real, or is he simply a carefully crafted excuse? With many questions lingering, officers arrive at a scene straight from a nightmare. Donovan sits leaning against a wall in the kitchen, his white shirt drenched in blood. There are clear signs of a struggle, with large amounts of blood spattered across the walls, floors, and appliances. When asked if anyone else is inside the home, Donovan chillingly replies, "Nobody that's alive." While some officers speak with Donovan, others begin their search for the victim, unaware of the horror that awaits them upstairs.
Why did Jeff want to kill your mom?
It's just the way he is.
Has Jeff ever hurt anybody before?
No, this is the first time.
According to our analysis team at EWU, while investigators don't need parental consent to question a minor in Ohio, a Miranda waiver must be obtained if a minor is a suspect in a crime. If the Miranda waiver is not voluntary in any given case, anything learned in the interrogation cannot be used in criminal prosecution.
How long has Jeff been in your head?
That's about like 3 months.
Upstairs, officers confront a horrifying scene. 40-year-old Heidi Faye Taylor is found lying in her bed, deceased. The brutal nature of her wounds points to a vicious attack, raising daunting questions about exactly what transpired between Heidi and Donovan. Back in the kitchen, officers notice an unsettling injury to Donovan's face. Though they ask him about it, he gives no clear explanation for how it happened. They let it go for now, but the strangely haunting wound on his face and its grim origin will soon demand answers.
Is that the only injury you got is on your leg, though, and the scratch right there, right?
There's like, there's something on my...
Your stomach okay?
No, my...
Huh? What?
I can't talk right
Okay.
There's something on my lip.
On your lip?
Yeah, so...
Okay.
Is it?
But that's...
Other than that, that's it? Other than that, that's only injuries? Okay. We're going to lift you up and take you out to the squad, okay? Can you worry it?
No.
Okay. Tell you what. You want to lift him up or you want to throw him on this chair and put him out there?
Don't matter to me.
Donovan is carried outside in handcuffs to the waiting paramedics, who strap him to a gurney and provide first aid to his injured leg. The medical team noted that Donovan continued to blame the attack on his alternate personality, Jeff, adding that he doesn't know why Jeff did this, and more chillingly, he doesn't know why Heidi didn't stay down. Investigators will soon interrogate Donovan at the hospital, but first, a nurse has questions of her own.
Am I going to be safe in here in the room with you? If I by myself? You're going to hurt yourself? Can you tell me what happened? You want to wait until we're on it?
I have never been died. I've never been died. I never been diagnosed. Basically, the easiest way I can say it is multiple personality, but I really can't explain it. Because, like, multiple personality, like,
I'm usually not aware.
they just talk to you. But I don't know what it's called when they take control of you. I have always believed there's a good side in a person and a bad side in a person.
So what did your bad side tell you today?
Said he was gonna kill.
Her next question is followed by a startling revelation from Donovan, who clarifies that the victim is his stepmother.
The other person that you heard, was it a family member or who was it?
It was my mother.
Your mother, okay.
Well, my stepmother.
Stepmother, okay.
I don't know where my actual mother is.
Okay. Did she go to a different hospital or?
No, she's no longer.
Officers photographed Donovan's wounds and blood-stained clothing before reading his Miranda rights. Afterward, they begin diving into the harrowing mystery of the day's events and what may have triggered his sudden, violent outburst.
Anything happened today at school? No. Did you have a bad day today or anything, or how was school?
School was totally fine.
Investigators would later ask a similar question to his classmate and best friend Tatum, seemingly in an attempt to uncover any clues or warning signs that may have hinted at what was to come.
Have you noticed any changes in Donovan's behavior recently?
No, actually, if anything, he seemed a little bit happier, like at school.
However, while Donovan was in the library the morning of the killing, another student named Jake approached his table after being aggravated by a fellow classmate. In his anger, he asked Donovan if he'd ever been so mad at someone he wanted to beat them up. Donovan eerily replied, "No, but I would stab someone." The student shrugged it off as a joke, unaware of the brutal acts that would take place later that evening.
So, other than what you told me about him so far, were there any other emotional problems that you saw or anything else going on that we need to know about?
Not that I know of.
Okay.
However, a chilling journal entry begins to hint at a darkness growing within Donovan. In it, he describes his dream utopia in which all emotions are eradicated. He makes an exception for love, cryptically stating some people kill for love. But what did Donovan kill for? Shockingly, the journal isn't the only clue that something sinister was brewing. His English teacher would later discover a letter he wrote to him just before leaving school the day of Heidi's killing. However, its discovery would come far too late. For now, investigators focus on what happened when Donovan returned home.
All right. So, tell me about coming home from school. What did you do after you came home from school?
I took a nap. I took a nap.
You took a nap. So you got home at 3, you took a nap. How long did you sleep?
I'm gonna say about like an hour. It was supposed to be for a half hour. But
okay. So you took a nap. Why do you say it was supposed to be for a half hour? Who told you it was supposed to be a half hour?
My stepmom.
Okay.
First, I asked if it could be a half hour. She said yeah. So I kind of oversaid it.
Then what happened?
After I woke up, I started cleaning my room. Then I kind of think Jeff wanted to come in.
And then who?
Jeff wanted to, you know.
Did you ever tell Dad or stepmom about Jeff? Why not?
Because I was afraid they wouldn't believe me.
Okay.
And think I was just doing it for attention.
Did you tell anybody else about Jeff?
I told the friends. I told Jeff.
Who's the two people?
After reassurance from the officer that he just wants to ask them questions, he reluctantly gives him 2 names.
Her name's Tatum, and my really close person, friend, I guess, my girlfriend.
Who's that?
Madison.
Madison?
The thing is, she's an addicted.
She's what?
She's an addicted.
Okay, she didn't go to school out there? Where does she live?
Wisconsin.
So how did you tell her?
On my
phone?
Yeah. I I have no idea.
How do you know her?
Well, kind of embarrassing, but like.
Either via Facebook or
Online.
Oh, okay.
Tatum would later share with officers her personal thoughts about the mysterious Jeff. When she's asked what Donovan's behavior is like when the alternate personality takes over, her reply raises more questions than answers.
I don't know what he does when it happens. I've never been there when it has. I've only known him as Donovan.
Do you believe he had a split personality, or you think this was just a fantasy thing for him to get attention? Something like that?
I don't think it was for attention. Like, I believe that it probably could have happened.
Though she claims to have never witnessed this alternate persona for herself, bone-chilling evidence would contradict these claims. In a text exchange later uncovered between Tatum and Donovan, he acts as Jeff, calling himself the devil's child and anything but holy. He also makes disturbing requests for the courage to stab someone 67 times and tells Tatum he's a lot different than Donovan, who would never kill anyone. For now, Jeff remains an enigma, with investigators unaware of how deeply disturbing the truth of his identity will reveal itself to be. Meanwhile, Donovan continues to elaborate on what happened next.
So, you're cleaning your room and you say Jeff wants to come out.
Mm-hmm.
Can you describe Jeff to me? How does Jeff act?
He's homicidal. Obviously. But like, he laughs about things that he did today. And he's super fidgety. He always clicks pens or twirls a pencil or something.
So can you tell me about what happened at home after you cleaned your room? What did you do then?
He came out. He was tired of being in me, and he said, I'm gonna come out. And usually, I don't let him, and I try to not, and I try to stop him. But I was like, you know, no harm's gonna do there. And I was wrong.
Donovan then explains that once Jeff emerged, he changed clothes, dressed in a plain white t-shirt and black jeans.
Why those clothes?
Because it's his favorite outfit.
It's a what?
Because it's his favorite outfit.
You talking about your favorite outfit?
His.
His, you mean Jeff?
Mm-hmm. Mine, I never wear white gets dirty.
So, change clothes, and then what happened?
He grabbed a knife, and he carved a stupid smile on my face. So stupid.
Donovan indicates that he intentionally grabbed a knife and then grabbed the lancet to complete the cuts on his mouth. Both acts demonstrate a level of preparation and forethought. Donovan's cuts, extending from each side of his mouth toward his ears, created what officers grimly described as an exaggerated smile. His chilling explanation for doing this to himself would later leave investigators stunned.
So, you got the knife, and you're in the kitchen, and cut your face. Did you do that in the kitchen?
I did that in the bathroom so I could see. So he could see.
So in the mirror?
I used a knife and a lancet. Because the knife was too long to cut anything.
Disturbingly, Tatum suggests that Donovan may have been sharing these frightening ideas with someone else.
I really don't know of any problems, like, for him at home, like, but he didn't have anyone else, like, really to talk to. There was this girl. All I know is that her first name was Madison, and that they used to talk, and they met over, like, the internet, like, an app. Like, they had never met each other in person. And he used to talk to her. I feel like they maybe just, like, fed off each other.
Investigators begin attempting to search for Madison and quickly locate her Facebook account online. Though her profile is private, they're able to view photographs attached to the account. What they see as they navigate her gallery is nothing short of a nightmare, the disturbing images leaving them questioning the true horrific nature of Jeff.
So, you have the injury to your face that you used the knife and the lancet for. Then what did you do?
I was waiting for Mom to come downstairs.
Now, when we're talking about Mom, you keep referring to Mom. We're talking about Heidi.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay. So it's very confusing because like when I say me, I could either mean me or Jeff but okay, like at this time period, I mean Jeff, but I say me because it's my physical being.
Okay.
But it was he who acted. It was he who controlled.
With that settled, Donovan continues to detail the harrowing account and the shocking moments that led to the brutal attack.
You're downstairs.
Yeah.
You waited for her to come downstairs. So she's upstairs?
Mm-hmm. She was upstairs, but she was taking too long, so I called her downstairs.
What did you say to call her down?
I said, Mom, can you come down here for a second? I'm gonna have no respect this, so it's not enough.
So she came downstairs?
Mm-hmm.
What happened then?
Do I have to explain how it all happened?
Well, it would be helpful. That way we know what happened to her. I think you kind of owe your stepmom, a little bit of telling what happened. I mean, otherwise nobody's going to know what happened to her. You know what I mean? I think you personally care about your stepmom. Maybe Jeff doesn't care about your stepmom, but I think you do.
Jeff doesn't. Me, I haven't really liked her. But yeah, I wouldn't hurt her at all.
So,
yeah,
what happened when she came downstairs?
I hid behind the door, so when she would walk by, I could just easily.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Where was the door?
The door was in the living room. It's the right side door that has the glass. Anyways, when she came by, I kind of had like a panic attack because I can't believe Jeff was making me do that.
So what happened after that? You said she came by. What happened after she came by?
And I'm glad that he did this, but he hugged her. He did. And then after he hugged her, Mom was like, "Why'd you cut your face?"
So what happened then?
He began. Stop.
In later interviews, Heidi's closest friend Angie and her daughter Ashley open up about Donovan, who they've known since he was just 2 years old.
He's always been different, never really, I wouldn't categorize him as shy, but he didn't like people with very few friends. He had friends. And it's not that he didn't socialize. He was an introvert.
He's very quiet. Yeah, he's very introverted.
What was Donovan's relationship like with Heidi?
Very tense.
Very tense? Why do you say very tense?
Donovan has always been an issue for Shane and Heidi. And when I mean issue, I mean he's been... It's what they argue about. They always argue about Donovan.
Donovan is the reason why their main reason why they fight?
Yeah.
They'll soon share more eye-opening details, explaining what they believe to be the source of the ongoing tension between Donovan and Heidi. Meanwhile, Donovan continues to share the horrific details of what happened next as he began the savage assault.
She said, "No, stop, just call 911. I was like, no.
How many times was she stabbed?
I don't know. I'm trying to push the glass, but I can't see it. I don't even have one. Then we went upstairs because she was trying to get her phone, so she could call 911. I went upstairs. Then I remembered that the gun was upstairs.
So she ran?
She walked upstairs. I was very exhausted. She walked back.
Where was she stabbed? In the front of her, the back of her, or something else?
Everywhere. And wherever the knife could penetrate. Then when I went upstairs, I took both of the phones because she had mine.
So she went upstairs? You followed her?
Well, actually, I ran ahead of her so she couldn't call anybody before I got there.
According to Donovan, when Heidi finally made it upstairs to the master bedroom, she laid down on her bed. What he did next would add a chilling new layer of brutality to the violent altercation.
She was lying. She was lying on the bed. I couldn't see her separate.
What did you do then?
Me and Jeff couldn't see her separate. I thought it was done upstairs. I was like, this is the quickest way she will.
So she's laying on the bed. Did she say anything else to you?
just call 911. And then after I said no again, I shot her and hit him.
It had to be an accident. He would not. I know they argued a lot. She was very frustrated.
And you said it had to be an accident.
That's what I believe, yes. I don't think that either one of them know they get mad at each other. I don't think that they would ever hurt each other. Not intentionally. Kids and parents, they argue. They fight.
Did the bullet strike her? How far away from her head were you?
But we both wanted her to stop suffering. Jeff likes to do this, but he doesn't like it. But he doesn't like it when people suffer.
And which hand did you hold the gun in?
Well, both. I used to rate to pull the trigger. I used both so I could aim and also didn't have to shoot twice.
A coroner's report would confirm the cause of death as a gunshot wound to the head, with more than 60 multiple sharp force injuries to her body. A tip of the knife blade was also extracted from her skull, while the firearm was located on the bed, lying next to her body.
Did you know any history of any anger issues, any mental illness, any, depression, anxiety?
She wanted to take him to a doctor.
Heidi wanted to take him to a doctor?
And her and Shane had talked about it.
Why did she say that she wanted to? Was she saying things?
Because maybe he was going through a depression. The fact that he was withdrawing, it was like three and a half years ago. He started to withdraw from them.
Back at the hospital, the investigator urges Donovan to continue, and he soon explains the horrifying cause of the self-inflicted wound to his leg.
So you threw the gun down on the bed beside her, and then you went back downstairs?
Yes, I did.
What did you do downstairs?
I was gonna leave. Jeff was still taking control.
Mm-hmm.
I noticed my legs are hurting real bad, and it was all wet and slimy. I pulled up, and there was a deep gash in my leg. I freaked out.
How did you get the gash in your leg?
While I was trying to hurt her, she fought back, and her legs were tangled and.
Her what?
Arm.
Oh, legs.
Yeah.
So you were wrestling with her?
Yeah.
Did you end up on the ground?
Yeah, we both did. We wrestled a lot, and then I saw her body. I didn't care where my legs were. I don't want to say it.
Take a breath. It's okay. Take a deep breath.
When I tried to hurt her, I hit my leg, but I didn't really feel anything because he was in a moment.
So you stabbed yourself in the leg accidentally?
As Angie and Ashley continue to elaborate on Heidi and Donovan's tense relationship, they delve deeper into what they believe may have been the root cause of their conflict.
Everybody knows that there has been tension between them.
And just by tension, like you said earlier, you just mean them not necessarily getting along because she wanted to discipline.
Yes.
And like any 14-year-old, you don't want to be disciplined.
No. She would take the phone. His dad would give it back to him.
Yeah.
She would take the game system. 2 days later, his dad would give it back to him.
Yeah.
Or, he would be grounded, but his dad would go take him shopping and spend like $400 on him. It was an issue.
He can be very manipulative. He tries to get his way by getting up underneath your skin and kind of forcing you to do what he wants. And a lot of times he would try to do that by using his dad.
He would never get punished for anything.
So she was.
He never knew a consequence.
She was more the punishing role.
Yes, she was.
Now, when you say punish, what type of punishment do you
like? Taking the game system away, or taking his phone away, or making him do a chore. She never touched him or physically. She wouldn't even spank her children, if that's what you mean.
In an earlier conversation with the hospital nurse, Donovan explained what led to his next decision to contact the police and confess to the harrowing crime.
After he did it, he noticed the cut. He's scared. He's mad at me because I called the police.
What you did?
And I was scared. I was like, I just did a really bad thing. And I was a huge gash in my leg that I had no way of getting myself stitches. I was like, I need to go to the hospital if I don't. I'm gonna get like infected, bleed out, or something. So he's mad at me for coming here. Because like he thought like, just do it and run. Now I obviously can't run, so was smart enough to make plan B. So he just, you know, just like you be human kid. I want to go back inside my head now.
So he's gonna cause all the trouble, leave you hanging.
Yeah, that's not fair. I would never want to hurt anybody. To be honest, the only reason why he called 911 was to fix the leg. Because it's fine. I wouldn't be here, and he would still take it over me. He wouldn't let me come out.
While investigators have now learned the devastating details of what happened to Heidi, they still have little to go on when it comes to establishing a motive. Angie and Ashley's accounts of their strained relationship don't explain what could have caused Donovan to violently snap. According to our analysis team member at EWU, while a host personality can be aware of alternate personalities, it's very unlikely for the host personality to be aware of specific details that occur when an alternate is taking the lead. If truly an alternate personality existed, Donovan would not know the details and thought process of each step of the crime.
So cut to your face, what's the significance of that?
It was his smile.
It's what?
It was his smile.
Do you watch a lot of movies? What other character has a smile like that?
Jeff the Killer. That's where Jeff kind of came. But that's just a story. It wasn't a movie.
What's that story? I'm not familiar with it.
It's called Jeff the Killer.
What's it about?
It's about this kid. His name is Jeff. And he moved into a new house. Anyways, long story short, coke pigs bullied him and beat him. So the first time he stabbed one, just to get away. Second time he was also defending himself, because they came back again and they were trying to kill him. Then he killed the leader, and then the second leader, the second person I heard, the second person named Keith, he set him on fire. That's why his skin's all white and his hair's black. And then after he killed Randy, he snapped, and when he came back from the hospital, he was pure white. He had a white shirt, a white hoodie, black pants. He came home and put a smile on his face.
Creepypasta is both a website and a term for horror-related stories and images that are shared online. Donovan earlier explained his fascination with the website to the nurse, mentioning names that may be hauntingly familiar.
Creepypasta, right?
Yeah.
What kind of, besides this Jeff on there, what else is on there?
Jenna from Slenderman and
Slenderman?
Smile Dog, Alice Jack, Ben Drowned, The Rake. There's a lot. It's really good. It's really good.
Jeff the Killer, one infamous character, first began circulating as an image in 2008. Its disturbing origins widely disputed in online forums. The image has inspired many artists and even fan films. Another friend of Donovan's named Skylar sheds more light on Donovan's chilling fascination.
He was kind of one of those people who, obsessed with scary stories. At least that's how I saw it. He had a picture on his phone that was Jeff the Killer, which is what he mentioned. So that kind of, I never heard about it until I met him. And I was like, it's a pretty weird story.
Though depictions of Jeff the Killer vary, several haunting details remain eerily consistent. He's always seen depicted with a wide, sinister grin, wearing a white t-shirt or hoodie and black jeans, the same clothing Donovan put on as he claims Jeff took over.
When's the first time he ever brought up this Jeff the Killer?
He actually never brought it up to me. I saw it on his phone.
Oh, you saw it on his phone. Did you ask him, like, hey, man, what is that?
Yeah, and then he told me that it was a creepypasta story called Jeff the Killer. So I looked it up, and I thought it was one of the creepiest stories ever.
However, it was Madison's Facebook page that truly left investigators stunned, as multiple drawings of Jeff the Killer filled the photo gallery. Determined to uncover the truth, investigators continue speaking with Angie, who claims she left the house just before the brutal attack.
He was taking laundry down, and then he was standing in his room, and she's telling me how she caught him. Because when I came upstairs, she said, don't even ask me for your damn phone because you're not getting it.
So he was standing in the room and she said, don't even ask me for your damn phone because you're not getting it?
Yeah, something like that. And then she turns to me and she says, I caught him sexting today. And I said, what? I said, Donovan. And she said, I'm tired of this.
Heidi confiscating his phone, preventing him from contacting his girlfriend Madison, may have been the final act that pushed Donovan over the edge. However, his earlier confession to the hospital nurse suggests it wasn't one specific action that set him off, but a combination of factors.
Was there something that set Jeff off today?
No, it was really today.
I mean, what seemed to bring on the attack?
She always yelled at me. Stupid stuff, like, I don't know, like, not, like, doing this is wrong, or like not sweeping the right spot, like normal parents yell, but no, I get absolute top of their lungs for not doing dishes right. And once I sat down on my knees, because she was crying, and wouldn't stop, so I set it down, my mom hit me.
Sometimes she would be mean with the things that she said. And as a mother, I've done the same thing. I'm not perfect, but I know, you know, she would say, and that's the only thing that I can think of, that as a kid, you know, you don't want to hear your parents say crappy things. All she would say was like, you know, I can't wait till he's 18.
But I mean, would she, you know, look at him and, you know, dumbass or stupid or, you know, nothing like that?
No, I mean, she would say pain in my ass.
Yeah, well, I can't tell you how many times
You're
I've
a
been...
pain in my ass.
I can't tell you how many times I've been called that.
And he would just sit there, you know, if other people are around.
However, as Angie left the home, Heidi and Donovan were alone when Donovan viciously ended her life. Later, Donovan's teacher contacted detectives about a letter Donovan left for him before leaving school the day of the killing. In the letter, he describes reading a book about a serial killer, his haunting words leaving sinister clues about his intentions. He claims killings are a part of human nature and can't be stopped. The letter and the glaring warning signs would be discovered far too late. Following his treatment at the hospital, 14-year-old Donovan Asher Nicholas was arrested and charged with both murder and aggravated murder, with mandatory prison time for a year each for having a firearm under his control while committing the crime and for using the firearm during the crime. He was transported to the Central Ohio Youth Center. On July 2018, Donovan was found guilty of all charges and sentenced to life in prison with the possibility of parole after 25 years. However, 5 years later, on June 15, 2023, the Ohio Supreme Court overturned the sentencing, stating that Donovan, a juvenile at the time of the crime, had his due process rights violated when the court used its discretion to certify him as an adult. These records are confidential. While we haven't been able to verify these details, according to news reports, Donovan has been released from jail. Iwu reached out to Donovan's family to determine his whereabouts and didn't get any response.
911 emergency.
There's an active shooter at UCC right now.
UCC, where at?
UCC in the, oh my God.
UCC, what building? Do you know?
Oh my God. Oh my God. Oh my God, there's a shooter. Hey, there's a shooter. Get the gun, shooter.
He would ask somebody if they were a Christian or not. He would say, good, because you're about to meet him in a couple seconds, and then shoot them.
I remember shooting. I remember the smell and the sound and everything. I think one woman said that when we do something, we're all going to die.
Oh my God.
Ma'am?
There's a shooter.
Where's
the... In your cars.
Where?
Go.
All I could think about was grab that guy's brains off the ground and put it all over my face and head. Just hoping that he thought that I was dead, you know.
On the fateful morning of October 1st, 2015, Umpqua Community College was thrust into a state of profound chaos as an assailant unleashed a relentless storm of bullets, ruthlessly targeting students and staff alike. Amidst the frantic efforts of the officers, desperately tending to the wounded and grappling with the heart-wrenching loss of life, a startling revelation emerges. A single student holds details about this barbaric act that revealed a vicious mind yearning to be reincarnated as Satan. On a quiet Thursday morning, Douglas County was rattled by an alarming call that sent shockwaves of fear and panic throughout the entire United States. At 10:38 a.m., 911 emergency services in the area receive a chilling call about a shooter who had brazenly entered the Umpqua Community College campus, stormed into one of the classrooms, and started unleashing a barrage of gunfire. The following calls and testimonies have been analyzed by a qualified team, including a licensed professional counselor, a former licensed professional counselor, and a licensed clinical psychologist.
911 emergency, are you reporting?
A school shooting. I'm at UCC.
Okay, listen to me. We've got lots of help on scene there, okay? I want you guys to get down. I want you to make yourself safe, and we've got lots of help there, okay? Are you with anybody that's been injured?
I'm sorry.
It's okay. Listen to me. We've got lots of help there. Are you with somebody that's been injured?
She's in the room. He's dead.
Ma'am?
As the gravity of the situation continues to unfold, an unrelenting deluge of calls flood in from distraught parents.
911.
Do they know that there's a shooting at UCC?
We have lots of help headed that way. Are you at the college?
I am not. My daughter just called me. She's right next door. I told her to barricade any door. I told them take whatever they have and barricade the door.
We have lots of help headed that way for them, okay? Fortunately.
I need to tell you something.
Okay. Uh-huh.
My daughter is in a break room. He is in that room now. He is in a break room.
Okay.
I just texted with her.
Did she say anything about being injured or anything like that?
No, but there's a ton of people in that room, and the guy was banging on the door and got in.
Okay.
In a remarkably short time, a few of the student callers successfully pinpoint the exact building and classroom where the assailant is carrying out his horrifying rampage. Their timely information serves as a crucial aid to the operators, who are working diligently to guide the dispatch officers to the campus.
911 emergency, are you reporting the active shooter at UCC?
Yes, it's in Snyder Hall.
Okay, in Snyder Hall, do we know how many people are injured?
I saw bullets coming through a door at a female. She made it into the computer lab. That is the south side of Snyder Hall.
She's in the computer lab and she's injured?
She was cringing. I don't know if she was injured or not, but the bullets were coming from...
Okay, do we know where the shooter is right now?
We're in Snyder 17, either Snyder 14 or 15.
As the sudden surge of calls congests the emergency phone lines, the police remain wary of the possibility of multiple casualties on site.
774 medical aid. We have a report of one person shot. There's approximately 35 people in Snyder Hall right now.
Do you know where the shooter is at this time?
No.
No? Okay, do you still hear gunshots? You do? How many gunshots can you hear?
It's like one every 3 minutes.
Okay, all right.
Maybe more.
Okay, what?
There's somebody outside the door. I'm not sure, with a I don't know what's going on.
Okay, what I want you to do right now, though, is all of you, I want you guys just to all huddle as far as you can into a corner, okay?
Across from the window.
Okay, good. I want you guys just to all stay down. We've got lots of help coming that way for you guys, okay?
Okay.
More officers are dispatched to the college campus, and numerous police departments come together to secure the area and aid in the investigation. As news channels and media outlets across the United States air reports of the gruesome attack, Professionals from neighboring countries and states step up to offer their help to the grieving community.
This is Rick Thompson up at the Marion County Medical Examiner's Office. We got word of your situation down there, and we're just calling to see if we can offer any staff to come down and give assistance to you guys down there.
Once the incident becomes known nationwide, emergency services receive tip calls from concerned citizens who report suspicious activities they'd witnessed in the hours before and during the shooting. The unnerving details in these tips give rise to a horrifying concern, hinting at the troubling possibility of there being multiple shooters involved.
I was on the 911 line just a few moments ago with a caller that was reporting a male with a gun seen on I-5 northbound around the Sutherland exit, just walking along the side of the road. He had a pistol in his hand. It could be related to your shooting, I'm not sure.
And did she give you a description of this guy?
He says there were two males. She only gave me a description of the one holding the pistol. Black male, possibly in his 20s, short dark hair. He was last seen wearing a dark sweatshirt and gray sweatpants. 911 emergency?
Yes. I just had a strange incident. I walked up on one of the empty lots where I live. Yeah. There was a pickup there with a young college-age student, and I thought he was throwing out garbage, and he told me it wasn't garbage, and it was school stuff. I didn't get around to the back where I could look. I thought he was just dumping trash.
And he looked like he was really uncomfortable and kind of fidgety?
Oh, he did.
Soon, these tips shift towards the campus and become more specific.
Okay, and you said you saw...
I passed a person on my walk in green camouflage fatigue in front of Snyder Hall morning at 7 a.m. He was walking away from a car, and as I passed in front of that car, he lost it.
As the task force units operate amidst the chaos, emergency services finally receive the update all of America has been waiting for.
183, we are code 4, the suspect is down.
Copy. Code 4, suspect is down.
After a standoff between a shooter and law enforcement, one of the officers has been able to hit the shooter on the right side. The shooter then retreated into one of the classrooms. From within, officers can hear one more final shot. The shooter is dead. Still, officers continue to cautiously scour the campus as they rescue students and staff who've been trapped inside classrooms. Simultaneously, a haunting realization sets in for all emergency services.
Hi, I was calling. I'm in Ohio, and I know that you guys have the school.
Yes, how can I help you?
I was online, and there's a website, and there's a post yesterday saying that there's going to be a school shooting, and people recommending how to do it. So I don't know if you guys are aware of this. I mention this because there have been other shootings and stuff like in the past on the news, and like people seem to go to this website and post stuff about it. I need you to specifically read that to me.
Some of you guys are all right. Don't go to school tomorrow if you are in the Northwest. Happening thread will be posted tomorrow morning.
Meanwhile, after conducting a comprehensive sweep of the entire premises and meticulously examining every nook and cranny of the buildings, the investigating team determines that there was only one shooter on site. The sheer quantity of ammunition and weapons uncovered from the shooter's bag at the school makes everyone's blood run cold. The extent of meticulous planning indicated that it was unlikely for only one person to set things of this magnitude into motion. Recognizing the significance of the internet post, the investigating team promptly alerts the FBI, who in turn posts several assistant investigators to probe the matter with utmost urgency. If they can nab this anonymous author of the post, there's a chance of bursting the entire racket. As the team springs into action, alarming waves of reports flood in from vigilant citizens. They alert operators about the post's rapid sharing across social media platforms.
It's showing like a live feed of chat.
Okay.
It's premeditating the shooting at UCC. I mean, these people are telling him how to do this, and people are posting things after it, telling him that he will be a legend.
Okay.
What we do know from the unfortunate prevalence of mass shootings today is that these murderers typically go in with the intention to go out shooting and take as many people with them as possible. There used to be protocols in place to try to negotiate with the gunman, as is done in hostage situations, and active shooter training formerly emphasized talking the gunman down. However, nowadays the focus in active shooter training is to fight and try to take the shooter out. While operators take notes of these fresh tips, the officers on the campus begin to safely evacuate everyone out of the college to help them reunite with their families.
Okay, we've just been notified that all the students are being transported to the fairgrounds, and we're asking that parents meet their children there.
In an effort to gather information, law enforcement officers assemble a dedicated interview team on the ground, aiming to speak directly with survivors who may have had direct encounters with the shooter. Unfortunately, due to it being only the second day of the new academic year, most students and staff on campus are not yet acquainted with everyone. This lack of familiarity adds to the challenges faced by the officers, as survivors are neither able to identify the person responsible for causing them such trauma, nor name the other classmates who had been critically injured and needed urgent attention. But amidst this uncertainty, one team of investigators manages to ID the shooter, bringing a significant breakthrough to the ongoing investigation. His name is Chris Harper Mercer. At this stage, investigating teams are strategically divided into 3 distinct units. The first unit is tasked with reaching out to Chris's family and neighbors, aiming to gather valuable insights into